Welcome to our In Focus discussion tonight. DACA, or the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, is the program for children who immigrated to the U.S. at a very young age through no choice of their own. The U.S. is the only home they've ever known. The DACA program was created in 2012 during the Obama administration, and thousands of people, known as Dreamers, applied for protection from deportation. On July 18th, a federal judge in Texas ruled that the program may be illegal. Tonight, we will be talking about this decision, what it means, who it affects, and what are the next steps after the ruling. Kicking off our discussion tonight is Xochitl Juarez. She is a DACA recipient. Xochitl, I wish we were here under better circumstances, but thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me, Rosie.
Xochitl, at your own comfort level, can you tell us about you and your family? What was the circumstances or background that led you all to come here to the U.S.?
Yeah, so I was brought into the United States when I was 3 years old. It was around the year 1995. Around that time in Mexico, there was something called the tequila crisis, which was basically the devaluation of the Mexican peso. I asked my dad to give me like an example of what that meant, and he explained it as, imagine you have $100. With the devaluation of the Mexican peso, you only had 10. So as you can imagine, this affected a lot of Mexican families, and this was what encouraged my parents to bring us over to the United States.
How do you even survive when the devaluation of the peso just goes down that much?
Exactly. When
did you apply for DACA, and where are you now currently in the process?
I applied for DACA as soon as it came out in 2014. It expires in December, and I'm probably going to have to renew it next month, especially with how long it's been taking for anything to get back to you right now.
So a lot of questions are up in the air right now with all the back and forth that's going on with DACA. Once you got DACA status after you applied in 2014, what did that mean for you and your family? What new opportunities, what doors were open for you?
DACA for me has been a huge blessing. I smile when I think about it because it really opened up a world of opportunities for me. All of the dreams that I had put on hold, I was able to now pursue. I was able to get a good job, be successful in that job, get my own car, build my own credit, give my kids a better life. It's just, I built everything around DACA.
It's that independence, that autonomy, that ability to take control of your own life. And I think some of us here might take it for granted, not realizing that there are individuals out there who want to work, want to go to school, but can't do so. So, Xochitl, what has the past near decade been like for you? There's been so much back and forth, tug of war, like one day DACA is safe, one day DACA is ruled illegal. What has that done to you on an emotional and mental level?
Honestly, Rosie, I'm overwhelmed. I'm exhausted. I sometimes just feel numb. I'm at a loss for words because I don't understand what's taking so long. It's a roller coaster of emotions.
I think we've been pushing for a permanent path to citizenship and immigration reform for a while, and it's been a near decade, and that's so long to just wait for answers. What was your initial thought and reaction back on Friday when you heard that this Texas federal judge had ruled that DACA is now illegal, which essentially freezes and puts a hold on the program?
I was infuriated because once again, we're used as bargaining chips. Once again, this is happening when we thought we were secure and now we're not. And so I was very, very upset. I didn't know if I should cry. I didn't know if I should go in my room and just scream. I was just really upset.
Because we're talking about your future here. We're talking about possible separation from your kids who were born in the U.S. And if anything happens to you, you would be separated from your kids. So all those possibilities in the air. Another group of people who will be gravely impacted by this decision are prospective dreamers, people who wanted to be dreamers. Maybe they were of age, but they weren't allowed to apply anymore. Do you know of anybody who is in that category and how this impacts them?
I don't know anybody personally that's in that category, but now that I'm back at the University of Utah, I have become a first-generation mentor, and I've talked to students who are undocumented, and they've told me kind of their experiences and their own fears, and so I can only imagine what it was like to have this opportunity presented to them, and then their whole world just crashing down and along their hopes and dreams.
Right. What's next for you? Do you know what your next options are? We know that you were supposed to renew at the end of this year. With this decision so fresh, what's next for you?
You know, I'm gonna keep pushing forward because just as like we have those bad things with this whole ruling, we also have the good. And it's empowered me to just keep pushing and keep going for my dreams. I'm not gonna give up, and I'm just gonna keep going for that degree. So I'm gonna apply again. And I hope that this comes to an end soon.
Did you feel supported by your community, your state, and your country?
Somewhat. I feel supported by some people. I have received a lot of support from many great people.
So Chill, final words. What would you like to leave our viewers with tonight as they're hearing our discussion on this topic?
The only thing I want to say is that we've waited far too long, and I think that we deserve a permanent solution now.
Thank you so much. You've been hearing from Xochitl Juarez. She is a DACA recipient. And Xochitl, I know this was a difficult and emotional conversation with you, but we're always so appreciative to have you here with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Rosie.
We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us for our second In Focus discussion tonight on DACA on hold. Up next in our conversation live via Zoom is Durrani Rodriguez Baltazar, an immigration attorney with more than 2 decades of experience in immigration law. Durrani, welcome back to the show. Can you tell us a little bit about this case? What was at issue? Who was the judge? And what was his ruling?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. At stake was the validity of DACA. The state of Texas and 8 other states, they filed a lawsuit and they were challenging or arguing that the program was illegal. Pretty much what they were saying was that President Obama overstepped his executive power when he implemented DACA because he did it as an executive order and he did not comply with the procedures in the APA. That means that there was no comments, there was no notice. So therefore they were saying this program is unlawful, it's illegal. Judge Hanen, who's a federal judge in Texas, last Friday, July 16, ruled in favor of them and said, yes, the program, DACA, is unlawful. What he did is he not only said that it was unlawful, he also pretty much revoked the memo that was issued in 2012 where, President Obama implemented the program. He also sent, the order back to DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, asking them to, reformulate or make all the changes necessary to be able to comply with his order.
So this ruling means that the program has been put on hold for now. What does that mean for people who have already been granted DACA status?
So the decision only talks about what's going to happen with new applicants, people that have never filed for deferred action. The decision says that even though the Department of Homeland Security is still going to be able to accept the applications, they're not going to be able to grant them. However, like you asked me, for the people that have already been granted DACA, he stayed his decision and he said they're going to be able to continue renewing their applications, and they're going to be able to enjoy all the benefits that a DACA recipient has, like having a work permit, having the ability to request advance parole, or the permission to travel outside of the United States.
I'm glad you clarified that. So then let's talk about the impact that it would have on prospective dreamers. For a moment there, they thought that, okay, I can now apply, and now it's reversed. Now they won't be able to apply. What does that mean for them, and how can this potentially impact their lives?
And it's very ironic because it doesn't say that you cannot apply. It's the opposite. It says you can apply, DHS, you can go ahead and accept all the applications, but hey, do not approve them. So just can you imagine how are they're lost. They're completely confused. Do I really want to file an application that I know that a federal judge already stated that the Department of Homeland Security cannot adjudicate? So a lot of these people, really, we have received hundreds of calls and they are pretty devastated. It's pretty awful. They're lost, they're confused, and they don't know exactly what they should do.
Durrani, I wanted to ask you this question. Do you think there might be some hesitancy now for people to apply for DACA, thinking that it could reveal that they are undocumented and put them on the radar?
That's exactly what a lot of them have been saying. They say, why would I file a new application that we know is just going to stay there? They're not going to adjudicate it. They're going to have all my information. And I'm just afraid that they're going to use that against us.
Yeah, I can see how that could be so scary. Is there any other legal fallout from this decision?
Well, I mean, it's just so, I think it's just how all these hundreds of thousands of people, even the ones that already have deferred action or DACA, they're completely at loss. You know, they're just not sure what's going to happen in the future. This is something that has been going on and off, like you said, and Sochil mentioned before, it's a roller coaster of emotion. So I think the problem is that, you know, a lot of these people are lost and they don't know exactly what they should do or what the future holds for them.
Durrani, what happens with the case now? Will it be appealed to a higher court? And what are the prospects for it if it does?
Well, President Biden, the same day that the decision was issued Friday night, he stated that they're going to appeal the decision to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. That decision, we feel that a case is probably going to go all the way up to the Supreme Court. What's going to happen now? I think a lot of pressure is on what are they going to do a permanent change. Something has to be done for these childhood arrivals, for these kids that came when they were so little, and I'm hoping that there's going to be a permanent change for them and that legislation is going to pass that is going to provide a pathway for them to be able not only to remain legally in the US, but to eventually be able to get their citizenship here.
And like Sochil said, like dreamers are tired of being bargaining chips. Literally the past decade has been so much back and forth with the program for them. Durrani, final thoughts. What would you like to leave our viewers with tonight, or what would you like them to think about when it comes to the legal aspect of this case?
Well, it has to be appealed. It has to be, we cannot just cross our hands and just wait or leave all these, kids. I think it's going to be appealed, and I'm really, again, hopeful that something positive is going to come. It has happened before. I think there's a lot of, there's controversy because the state of New York said one thing and now the state of Texas is saying something else. So that's why I'm thinking this is going to go all the way up to the Supreme Court, and hopefully legislation, something is going to happen before the recess in August.
Only time will tell. You've been hearing from Durrani Rodriguez Baltazar, an immigration attorney. And Durrani, thank you for joining us tonight to share your insight on the case.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'll be right back. Welcome to our third and final In Focus discussion tonight on DACA on hold. Rounding out our conversation tonight is Mayra Sedano, Executive Director of Comunidades Unidas, an advocacy group for the Latinx community in Utah. And Mayra, thank you so much for joining us and welcome to the show. Let's start with the popularity of DACA. How do most U.S. citizens feel about the program?
Hi, Rosie, and thank you for the invitation. In all honesty, I believe that we have a lot of support locally and at the national level. Just in the last week, we actually partnered with other agencies to do a press conference. There were some business leaders, local elected officials, and we were really pushing and asking for the support, especially from our senators, to pass a permanent solution for undocumented immigrants, including dreamers and DACA recipients. So in all honesty, I think that we do have the support.
Now, this is a question that many people, including I, are wondering. You know, the DACA program is so popular and it has a majority of support from the public. What are some of the reasons you think why it hasn't been passed by Congress or why there hasn't been a permanent solution to immigration reform?
Really good question. In all honesty, I do want to share with you that I joined the immigrant rights movement back in the early 2000s. I was a dreamer, undocumented immigrant, and we have so many families that have been fighting for this so many organizers, so many individuals that have been wanting this for so long. It's been super hard. I think that in some instances we get supports from certain parties, and other times, there are some others that just don't support that we get a permanent solution for undocumented immigrants. It's really hard. However, as a community organizer, I want to believe that right now we are in a very pivotal time to pass some kind of immigration reform.
Oh, I sure hope so. Myra, can you talk about this most recent ruling on July 18th by the Texas federal judge? How does it affect what you are doing in terms of immigration reform or your work in the community? And what are some of the reactions that you've heard or seen from the DACA community?
Definitely. Friday was a very difficult day for Comunidades Unidas and obviously for many of our clients. We have the privilege to have some kind of certification that allows us to, accreditation I should say, that allows us to assist immigrants, especially undocumented immigrants, when they're filing before USCIS. And we actually had some applications. We had some individuals that applied for DACA for the first time. They were excited. We were pumped up. And it was devastating just to hear that there is a possibility that they might not be able to get that work permit that they've been wanting for so long. A lot of people are very confused. There is a lot of uncertainty, a lot of questions, and a lot of fear.
It is such an emotional roller coaster for our dreamers. I just can't imagine. Now, details are still coming in, but based on what you know, what are you recommending to people who are both in the DACA system and those who were in the process of applying?
The first thing that we want to recommend is that for those individuals that actually applied for DACA for the first time, we really want them to seek assistance. I think that some of them, or the majority of them, might have either an attorney or an accredited rep that is helping them. Please contact the individual or the agency, the nonprofit that help you with the application. I also want to list a couple of other resources that are out there. Comunidades Unidas, in collaboration with another nonprofits that provide immigration services, we have an immigration line, and I want to make sure that individuals that have questions or concerns are able to call us so we can provide them with some assistance and redirect them to the right direction. I also want to remind individuals that there are some other resources like the Dream Center at Salt Lake Community College and the Dream Center at the University of Utah, and I just want to provide them with the phone number, because I think it's important that people have the tools necessary for them to make an informed decision. So to get any information related to immigration, we have an immigration line at 801-382-9027. And then the phone number for the Dream Center at SLIC is 801-957-2129. And the phone number for the Dream Center at the U is 581-3474.
And we know that was a lot of information.
70.
That was a lot of information, but we will have all of those phone numbers online on our webpage under this story. So Myra, don't worry. We'll take everything that you just said there and put it in one place so that our viewers, in case they didn't have a paper or a pen handy, they'll still be able to access those resources. Myra, we have about a minute left. We want to know, what is next for you in Comunidades Unidas after this ruling? Where will your organization focus your efforts? Do you have to take on more volunteers to respond to this increased needs of those who are worried?
Yeah, Comunidades Unidas has been in the fight for immigration reform for 22 years. We will continue to fight for a permanent solution for dreamers and undocumented immigrants in the state. We also want to invite everyone out there that's watching to sign a petition. We have a petition going right now. We need to ask our senators to act now and support dreamers and undocumented immigrants. So we want to ask everyone to join our efforts. We need to show up for dreamers in our Utah undocumented community.
Thank you so much. You've been hearing from Myra Sedano, Executive Director of Comunidades Unidas. And Myra, thank you so much for coming on our show to talk about the current state of DACA.
Thank you, Rosie.
And don't forget, we would love to hear from you about this show. We invite you to join our Facebook group by going to facebook.com/group/ABC4InFocus, or you can send us an email, infocus@abc4.com.